a lot of these videos and what I do is a performance where I'm breaking the third wall, or trying to. And normally breaking the third wall is a bad idea, but if done right, it could be the climax of the story itself, which is what awakening really is. And it's the performer seeing that they are the performance, the projector seeing that they are the projected, and round, strange loop it goes. And sometimes I feel like I really, really want to sell you something. Like sometimes I'm just enjoying the sort of revelation, and calling it that isn't even right, so much. And I want to be able to communicate it. And I feel like that's what the depth of art and creation really is. And I've become awake to this in such an incredible way, and seeing that the art that I myself created was this deep pointer, and the lyrics and some of the songs I loved and the art I admire are such deep pointers. And it's the artist seeing that they're the art itself. And it's like I'm trying, sometimes I get a little bit confused and it feels like I'm really trying to sell someone something, and it's gonna take everything that you don't know you have to buy it. And you think, in your head, you think it's going to take everything that you think you have to buy it. But that's not. That currency will not be accepted here. So, right after the awakening, I went to talk to my dad in his office, and he had this old canvas painting that I'd painted in high school. And when I saw it, it just amazed me and took my breath away, and it was just another thing that completely revealed this to me. And I had painted, I forget what the assignment was, but she'd asked us to do something in specific. And so I had painted this little girl looking into a pool of water. And in the background is this dark, pitch night, and there's trees, and there's eyes in the forest looking at her. And she's scared, and she's sort of sad, and she's looking into this pool of water. And in the pool of water is her reflection, and reflected back her background is complete broad daylight with sun shining. And I can't remember what I was thinking when I painted it at the time. It was an interesting idea, but it never made me, like, you know, you go with sort of inspiration and what makes you feel good, because you know if you're putting that much effort into it. And at the time, like, painting faces was something that technically I wasn't good at, and so her face was kind of blotchy and everything. And you want to pick something you're really, really inspired by, so that will keep you through. You know that as an artist when you're doing an assignment. It will keep your interest to the end of the project, because you know when you start something, you have the inspiration of the idea, and then there's this has been talked about as like a curve in a project, and in various different ways, and it gets really, really hard. And then by the end of the painting, when you're putting the finishing touches on, that's the most incredible time. And it feels like at that point, there's no point the painting can really be finished, and you just sort of arbitrarily have to be like, okay, it's done now. But you could keep going with those little touches that feel amazing to make forever. I just realized what a good analogy that is for enlightenment. So, yeah, life is art, and it feels like I'm trying to sell you something. But I realize that you already have it. You already have it. So how am I supposed to make you aware of this? And to me, the answer is art. It's story. And seeing the stories that have had such an incredible impact on myself. So here's a story from my real life that just happened, and it's a totally mundane story that I thought teaches this pretty well. So I've talked in the past, I have a past video about Tonglen, And Tonglen is a Buddhist practice of taking in suffering, going into suffering, specifically other people's suffering, and wishing them healing and peace back. And through that process, I learned a lot, and the process sort of ate itself, consumed itself back up as I really realized and felt that the healing I was sending to the sufferer was a projection of my own suffering, my own self. And that's quite a profound thing. And I talked in the past about how it actually was felt the night my grandmother died, and then she had died, and I always felt like there was some sort of weird spiritual transmission that happened with her death, but I know it was just my own love for her and her love for me, because she really was this just amazing. I never really knew someone who could love so unconditionally like that. So I catch myself at the grocery store and I pull into a parking space, and I notice just then that the car next to me has the front of it completely torn off, the whole side of it, and it's kind of like sticking out into my parking space. So I'm starting to think, and I'm like, I don't want to be around this. I don't know if this just happened. I don't know if they know who did it. I don't know if a cop is going to come and need this space. So I just moved ahead to the other parking area and parked there. And so I went and got my groceries, and I come back out to the car. And so I'm looking at this vehicle, because it's got, like, you know how those plastic bumpers really, you can really do a number on them, and it's just sticking out so far. And so I'm trying to figure out, the headlight's gone and everything. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what happened. And there's this old man just sitting in the car, and I become aware of this, and I become aware of my gawking and feeling really uncomfortable for moving and feeling like this really unloving person. And so that kind of, like, from a couple, 3 years ago, that, like, wanting to do Tonglen for him came in. And so I kind of, like, started to go into that. And then I realized that I was projecting my own suffering, and I have a lot of anxiety around driving and a lot of sort of mind patterns of, like, if I were to get in an accident or put myself in a situation where I got into an accident, that would be my fault. And completely, like, my sense of control and doership kind of comes out in this anxiety of driving. And so I realized, like, I have no idea what he's thinking, and when I wish well-being, I'm wishing well-being and freedom completely for myself and regardless of circumstance. So often people have hang-ups with the law of attraction where they're afraid that they're going to attract something bad. And then you have Buddhism, which is going right into the heart of something bad. And so Buddhism tells us that the root of suffering is desire. And the law of attraction says that desire is like the driving force of the universe, which it is. And so both of these philosophies are completely right. And if desire is the root of suffering, then go there and allow it. So you need both, and you need to be able to go into the suffering. Because one of the scariest things about the law of attraction is when people first hear this, it's like, oh my God, I can attract cancer. I can attract something negative. But because this is a story, you cannot actually attract anything negative. You're the painter painting yourself in a dark forest. You're painting these monsters' eyes staring out at you. You've created this contrast. You've created this incredible tension in the painting. You haven't enforced anything on this character, on this girl in the painting, because she's not real. And so awakening is realizing that you are not real either. And this is a hard thing to explain. And so I came up with this parable last night. And I'm starting to realize in my own life that I go through spells of having this intense creative energy. where things are really exciting and I'm creating things, and then I have these like low periods. And the problem is that I often, those low periods turn into depressive things and I try to control it and get out of it. And I'm learning a lot better to surrender into those periods. And so last night this happened and I just like got time by myself. I was starting to feel this depression come in. And then like inexplicably, I was like, I want to explain this to people. I have to explain this feeling to people. And then I just had this analogy come in. And so this actually gets into like the depths of storytelling. And as I said, this is completely, the reason I started this YouTube channel is so that I would have an audience to eventually someday write a novel. So that's how deeply like intertwined stories are with the creation of this whole channel turning into spiritual teaching. So I had this story come in. I said there's this man, and as a boy he had this incredibly powerful dream that continued to repeat throughout his life. And it was this woman, and she had this long black hair, and she was wearing a rose in her hair, and she was wearing white lace. And she says to him, "I'm not a dream." And this dream or vision is accompanied with this incredible feeling. And I think we've all had dreams like this, that the storyline of it and the symbolism of it doesn't really make that much sense, but it came with just this incredible feeling that you wake up and it's like your entire reality is almost washed away. This feeling is so powerful and so overtaking you, and you just like, you suddenly want to create your life into this being your reality. And every time I've fallen in love with a guy, it's come to me in a dream. I've had a dream of him, including my husband. And it didn't really occur to my logical mind to have those kinds of feelings, and then I became aware of them. And yeah, your dream life is very intertwined. But anyway, so he has this dream, he has this vision, it recurs, and he becomes obsessed with it. He becomes lost with it. And so everywhere he's looking for this woman, and every time he sees this black-haired woman or he sees this kind of thing, he looks for her. And it is to the point where he can't have other relationships in his life, and he's just so passionately consumed with this vision and wanting to find this woman that he doesn't even really put in his heart and soul into his career or anything in life. And so eventually this becomes so painful that he has to let go of it. And he asks out this other woman who doesn't have black hair and isn't the woman from his vision. And as he's walking back on the street, he meets this man with long black hair, and in quick succession he sees a little girl with a red rose in her hair and an old woman wearing white lace. And then he hears or sees on a billboard, "I'm not a dream." And he realizes that this feeling, this feeling that was so focused and projected in that dream is everything around. Everything he sees as mundane, everything he's seen as not for him. And this could be the most incredible, like, this is everywhere. This feeling, this wonderful, this woman maid who came just for me is everywhere. This love, this connection, this beauty is everywhere, in everybody, in every single face. Can be the most rapturous, blissful experience, and that is awakening. But there's another way we can take it, and the other way is to say, oh, she doesn't really exist. I'll never really find her. And the strange thing about life is after he went through that experience, she may show up just as he dreamed her. And it's not a dream. It's not a dream, but it is. And so this sort of merging, this sort of understanding, this sort of It's so everything. It's so all around. It's so all-encompassing that it's nothing. But to say it's nothing, to say that she doesn't exist, totally misses the point. So the beauty is that the split between fiction and nonfiction never, ever existed. The beauty is that a book itself is a concept and does not exist. The book as a whole can never be experienced outside a mind-made concept, which is illusory. And the climax of the story and the depth and the drama and the despair and the transcendence and the transformation and the climax of the story is the same as the mundane cover page. And this is the most incredible, the most free, and the most liberating thing. And I love this way of speaking about it. I love this way of speaking about it rather than saying it's nothing, because it most certainly is not nothing. It's neither real nor unreal. Just like the dream character. She's not a dream, but she is at the same time. It's so, saying no is the most direct way that we can dualistically say it, but there's always a ... which leaves the possibility open for absolutely anything. And if you want, you can apply this to some of the most mundane aspects of your life. When the stupidest stuff happens to you, you can look from this higher perspective or change a perspective or see that sort of the feeling in the story. We believe that we have these external laws that are written in, that we have to believe about things, that we have to be able judging things as good and bad, but they aren't there at all. And there's something within us. There's something when shit really hits the fan, there's this inner calm that arises that's almost creepy. And when you really, really, truly hate and loathe someone, there's this kind of love that you almost cannot deny, that you have to give it its, you have to acknowledge its existence somehow, and your freedom is the fact that you can hate it all, that you do not have to acknowledge its existence. And this just cannot be any more indescribably perfect or beautiful as it is. And the fact that we can dramatize and say, no, it's not, just adds to that. It adds to the liberation and freedom that already is. And like I say, you can do this with the most mundane aspects of your life, because a lot of our lives are really mundane. And a lot of our lives is trying to look for this incredible feeling, the climax of the story, when you're doing the laundry. And like I say, it's within the cover page. It's in the laundry itself. And it just couldn't be any more enticing and amazing. This couldn't get any more amazing. And just look for it anywhere. Doesn't matter. Stop looking. Start looking. Start looking into every single face for your long lost love. They're all there. We're all enlightened. We're all beautiful. We're so beautiful you can call us ugly. You can call us whatever you want. It's all up to you. Sheer freedom.